What's up, guys, and welcome to the Rebalance podcast, where we dive into topics that matter most when it comes to overcoming struggles, injuries, and finding balance in your life. Everybody's idea of balance is that bit different, so my goal is to give you different perspectives, practical tips, as well as expert insights into what it means to live a balanced life. My name is Robbie Cassidy. I'm a physiotherapist and a health coach, and I've been helping people reignite their love for challenge, overcome their fear, and find more balance in their life through the process of self-development. So, let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. On this episode of the podcast, we are going to look at the do's and the don'ts of back pain. Now, the reason I want to look at this because a lot of people get stuck doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result when it comes to back pain. But what we need to look at here is how we can break those cycles so we don't get those recurring cycles of pain, and how we can actually work on that and improve it and change our reactions so in time we can get rid of the pain completely. That's the goal of this podcast, is to teach you about what you should not do and what you should do when it kicks up so you can get it right. Back pain is a huge problem in our society today, and even though it should be the same as a hamstring strain or an ankle sprain, often it sticks around a lot longer, and it's this recurring problem that keeps coming back. And it may be you've noticed that it could be in your family, that there's a couple of people in your family that have suffered from the same issue. Now, if this is the case, what we're looking at here is more of the body's reaction than the injury itself, because what would be the chances that everyone would get the exact same injury and have the same results? It's unlikely if you think about it. Like, what's the same chance that someone's going to have the same knee injury or the same hamstring injury and have the exact same recovery time and the exact same everything around it? It doesn't really happen, because we're all individuals and everyone is going to react to things differently. So what we need to look at with back pain is we need to look at our reaction to the issue itself. And if we can control our reactions and we can improve our reactions, that's how we can fix these chronic back issues. Because, as I said, it's more of a reaction of your nervous system than the issue or the injury itself. And I want you to really get an idea of that, because if you can hold that in your head as we go throughout this podcast, it will make everything so much easier for you. Now, if we treated back pain the same as we do a hamstring strain or an ankle injury, oftentimes we could clear it up and it wouldn't be that much of a problem going forward. But because we're consistently told to do the wrong things, this becomes a recurring problem. You're often told to go and rest, or to put ice on it, or to stop everything and don't aggravate it. All of these things contribute to it sticking around and contribute to our nervous system becoming more aware of that area and picking up more on that issue. And this is something you're going to hear me talk about, is how the nervous system reacts to it, because it has a huge role to play in this whole issue of chronic pain. Many of the therapies for back pain that we're given are often short-term issues where you're told to, as I said, ice it, or you're told to rest it. Another issue with back pain is that we're given so many different diagnoses. You know, from one person, it's because of their posture. The other person is because they have flat feet. The other person is because their glutes aren't weak, or their glutes are too weak, I should say. For someone else, it could be their forward head. For somebody else, it could be that they lifted something wrong. For someone else, it's just genetic. So there's so many different diagnoses given to it that we're led down a path. It doesn't work. You don't fix it that way. So you go somewhere else and they tell you it's something else. And then they tell you that your back is out of place, or your discs are degenerated, or you have a bulging disc. And you have all these other factors that are causing your pain when really they have nothing to do with it. And that's why when you're dealing with back pain, you have to come back to your foundation. You have to come back to your roots, and you have to try to fix the issue from there. If you can come all the way back, work on the issue from the ground up, build a strong foundation, that's how you can fix it. That's how you can get rid of it long term. And I've seen it happen over and over again. But I've also seen people go the other way, where they continue to search for new diagnoses and new fixes and new novel gadgets, decompression, chiropractic adjustments to try fix them, but it's not getting them anywhere, because it's giving them the short-term relief. They say that was really good. Then they go back for 6 more sessions. It's not giving them any long-term relief. It's just fixing them for one day. To take a lot of anti-inflammatories or take painkillers. These are all common. It's not your fault that you do this. It's just the way it's been given to us. It's kind of the way it's been laid out for us. And if we can take care of these, we can fix it. That's why in this podcast, we're going to talk about exactly what not to do first, and I'll tell you exactly what you can do to fix this issue. And before we jump into it, I want to tell you about Sandra really quickly. Sandra is a lady that I worked with. A very impressive story in that she came to me with back pain that was affecting her ability to walk. It was getting worse and worse. It was around the time of COVID. And what was happening is she wasn't able to, at the start, she was able to walk maybe 5 kilometers or 10K. But then slowly but surely that pain started to increase day by day. And she noticed that after a while, she wasn't even able to walk out of the house or go for a 10-minute walk. So what we did is we looked at all the factors that were contributing, and we looked at, I guess we took a holistic approach to it. We ticked off all the boxes, we built that foundation, and slowly but surely we changed her attitudes and beliefs around the issue and started to work on rebuilding a active lifestyle. And when she had this active lifestyle, she was able to continue pushing on with her walks to runs up until she was able to run a marathon in about 20 weeks. Okay, now this wasn't obviously just a flick of the switch. It took a lot of trial and error, going forward and back, checking things, see if it worked, coming back and checking something else. But it can happen. You can do it. If you are somebody who has, like Sandra, a couple of bulging discs, who has possible degenerative disc disease, who has been given loads of different diagnoses, you can fix it. But you do need to take the time to do it. And this podcast will teach you how to do that. Number one of the main things that you need to stop doing when you're getting back pain is you need to stop taking painkillers straight away. When you take painkillers, what you know you're agreeing to is a short-term fix. This is okay if you need a really quick kind of get out of jail free card. That's okay because it'll help you to get through the day. But what people don't realize is that once you start taking painkillers, they often become a crutch. And oftentimes when you get consistent enough with taking them every day because you don't take care of the other factors, what will happen is that you build this tolerance and you continue to take more and more and more. And then at a certain stage, you'll look back and you'll notice that you've been taking painkillers every day for 3 to 4 months, but the problem hasn't subsided. So aside from the health issues associated with that, it's not something that you want to be doing. And it's actually building bad habits, and it's building problems within the nervous system because you're never addressing the pain. And what it drives is this belief of that the body is fragile and that you need it to be fixed or you need to get rid of the pain. And we never learn too much from our pain, while we should be learning from our pain all of the time. The same goes for anti-inflammatories. Anti-inflammatories aren't going to promote healing. If anything, they actually slow healing down when you look at the research on them. But they become an issue for people because a lot of times people just keep taking stronger and stronger ones and think that they're fixing it. And oftentimes they're given to you as like, get out of jail free card. This is going to help you right now. But they don't fix it long term. So why do you continue taking them? This is a problem that we need to stop. Just a quick case of somebody who got caught in this trap. When Peter came to me, he was taking painkillers every single day. And he hadn't noticed that they had built up and built up and built up until he was taking stronger ones and stronger ones, because he was going to the doctor. He was saying it's not fixing my pain. So they would give him a stronger one because that was the options that he had. And he just kept on taking stronger painkillers until the point that he was taking tramadol. He was in a job that it was a stressful environment, no doubt. But because he had continued to build up his painkillers, his tolerance had dropped from him. And his pain just kept on increasing. He never took care of the other factors outside of it. So he was going around like a zombie on a day-to-day. He said that he couldn't think. He couldn't plan. His cognitive processing was going out the window. It was affecting his performance in work, and it was also affecting his relationship. The number one thing that we went after was getting rid of the painkillers. Number 2 then is overreacting and catastrophizing about the pain. This is one that you probably haven't ever realized that you do before. If you start describing your pain, or you start thinking about your pain as the worst possible pain all of the time, and when you recount the pain, it's even worse. What happens is you build these beliefs that you have this severe pain, and as a result it starts to build on the pain, because the language we use has a huge effect on our beliefs and our attitudes, and as a result our behaviors. So if you feel that the pain was an 11 out of 10 and you were bedridden, you couldn't get out of bed, you couldn't do anything, well, the fear of that, the idea that you were in that position at one time in your life, whether you were or you weren't, I'm not arguing that point, but just the fear of it is going to cause you to have certain habits around avoiding certain activities, because you're going to feel that it'll put you back in that position. So it creates this idea of a fear avoidance behavior. Fear avoidance behaviors are not a good thing to have, because what they do is they build and they build and they build, and then over a couple of years' time, same thing with the painkillers, is that you look back and you say, well, before I was a runner, and then I stopped running, and then I started to walk because it was affecting my back, and then I used to hike and I stopped hiking, so now I don't do anything. And now I don't exercise at all because I don't want my back to get worse. And this is a really common occurrence. This happens to so many people. But if you be careful of that in terms of the catastrophizing of how severe the pain is, and try to break that habit as much as possible, we can see huge improvements really fast. The catastrophizing creates a real physical and mental barrier that you have to overcome, because mentally first, because you're always worrying about the pain, and physically after, because now your nervous system has gotten hypersensitive because it doesn't want to get back in that position because you're so hyper aware of it, and you have all these fear avoidance behaviors, and your pain gets worse. So resting too much is the next one. Now, rest is rust. This is really important to remember. If you avoid all activities, you're going to get deconditioned, and it's going to get worse over time. So we need to try break that habit, because if your only option is to rest every single time you get back pain, you're going to find yourself getting worse and worse each time because you never take care of the factors first. And at the same time, you're getting more deconditioned every time you do it. So we need to be careful of that. Another reason that rest is bad is because often when we try to take it off for a couple of days or a week, that ends up being a few months at a time. And then as a result, we become less inclined to take care of the things that cause it in the first place. So it's a short-term thing. If we don't take care of it, it can become a longer-term issue. And really quick story about a lady I was working with, Breathe. When she jumped on board with me, what she was doing is she was basically, every time she would get back pain, she would look at stopping everything. Instead of modifying her activity, she'd just stop all exercise. And as a result, she got to the point that she couldn't play soccer. She couldn't go to the gym properly because every time she got back into it, the pain would kick up. She would rest. She would come back into it again. The pain would kick up because she's more deconditioned. And then you can see how that cycle kept on getting worse and worse. She was out of playing for up to 2 years. So it can happen. It can creep in. Like many of these things, they creep in as opposed to one bang, and they become a problem then. And the last thing with resting is that it's hard to figure out what the main contributor is if you are stopping all the time whenever it kicks up, because you don't figure out what the triggers are, and you can't figure out then what to fix the next time it kicks up. Because often with these things, there's a couple of triggers that cause it to kick up. If you take care of those and you fix those, it becomes a lot easier. And when you're so deconditioned, the body just reacts to everything. And that's what we need to avoid. We need to build up a tolerance. But I'll talk about that soon. Manual therapy, chiropractors, and relying on massage. This is the next one that you need to stop doing. The main reason being is that when you look at the research, it shows that all of these are short-term fixes for pain. And you're dealing with a chronic or long-term problem. So we need to stop using short-term fixes for long-term problems. And if you say, well, it was just this time, well, how many times has that happened? That's what we need to be careful of. Because when you say, oh, it's just this time, I won't do it again, and then you get rid of it for a couple of days or maybe a week, 2 weeks possibly. You might even get away with it for a month. But the next one, when it comes back, it's going to come back with a bang, because you haven't taken care of the factors that are contributing to it. You have this different narrative in your head about what was causing it. Oh, it was tight muscles, when tight muscles are more of a sign, not actually a cause. You say it's tight muscles, or it was because of my posture, or whatever reason, or my back was out of place and the chiropractor readjusted it, which doesn't happen because do my knuckles look out of place right now? Just as a quick, simple one, do they look out of place? No. How come they can crack? So it doesn't make sense that I can do that. That's a silly narrative. As well as when you get these ideas of certain narratives, and when you're driving certain narratives around back pain, as I talked about earlier, the language you use has a huge effect on your beliefs and your habits. So having wrong narratives and telling the wrong story about what's happening to your body can only cause you to get worse and worse, because you are going to start trying to fix the wrong things, and as a result you go down this cycle again. Another one I've a problem with is the facet joint injections, because they give you short-term relief. Again, they don't take care of the problem naturally. They're not a holistic approach, and you can only get so many of them. So if it doesn't fix it the first time and people go back for 2 more, what more are you expecting? And then when you go back for 2 more, what you feel then is the next option is to go for surgery. But you haven't taken care of the problem in the first place because you've never taken care of the approach holistically. So now you're down the path of going for surgery that you don't need because it's your only other option that you think. The other thing with surgery is that a lot of these surgeries work because you have to do rehab after. That's an important one to remember. I did a podcast on that before. It's called Sham Surgeries. Check it out. Another problem that I often see is this idea of relying too much on MRIs and the results of an MRI to give you an accurate diagnosis for what you have. If you look at MRIs, they are going to throw up degenerative disc disease. They're going to put up bulging discs in 1/3 of people over the age of 30, whether they have back pain or not. So it's such an unreliable diagnostic tool for chronic issues. We need to stop using it, and we need to be careful with how much of an effect it can have on you. MRIs, X-rays, looking at these things and saying, okay, well, this is the problem, looking at postural issues, they've generally happened over time, so you can't really blame them. If you go and you look at an MRI and it says you have degenerative disc disease, that's the exact same. It's the exact same diagnosis. Looking at a person saying they have wrinkles on their skin and saying it's degenerative skin disease. Would you say because somebody has wrinkles, they have pain? You wouldn't. I would hope you wouldn't. Or if somebody has grey hair, they have pain. No, it's natural signs of aging, which MRIs show. MRIs are excellent to show acute injuries, not chronic injury. And they're used too often for chronic injuries. We need to avoid using MRIs to diagnose these issues. The other thing an MRI does is when you see this, I have a bulging disc, now that creates a belief that you can't be fixed because you have a bulging disc. And you need to wait for the bulging disc to be fixed, which is not the case because oftentimes it's completely unrelated to it. So we need to be careful with that. Now, we have only 2 of these left. Posture correctors, ergonomic and decompression tables. If you feel they are more comfortable to sit in, perfect. But if you feel that you should sit with perfect posture all the time, I want you to try sit with perfect posture for the rest of this podcast, and I want you to see how comfortable that is and see if it helps your pain. Because I can guarantee you after about 60 to 70 seconds, that's going to be an uncomfortable position to sit in. The reason being is that we're not supposed to sit in these perfect positions. It's okay to have it. It looks better, and the military brought that in. That's why people have that idea of this perfect posture. It's because it looks good, but that doesn't mean it's a contributor to pain. When I went to college first, they used to use this thing that they hung a plumb line from the roof down, and they said that you had to be perfect line from your ear to your shoulder to your hip to your ankle all the way down, or you're going to be in pain. And they use that as a diagnostic tool for pain, which is crazy because if you look at everyone's posture, nearly everyone has some bit of a forward head posture around the shoulders at some time of the day. So does that mean the second you go into that posture it causes a lot of pain? Doesn't. No. If we believe the marketing, because that's what it is, it's marketing. When you look at these ergonomic tables, you look at these ergonomic chairs, kneeling desks, like just crazy stuff. When you look at these things, it's really good marketing. A neck pillow for when you're supposed to sleep. Are people forgetting that we used to sleep on the floor of caves for years, but now we need a neck pillow to sleep? It doesn't make sense, okay? It's all coming back to this idea that the body is fragile, and they create the narrative that the body is fragile. That's the narrative that we are trying to break. If we can break that, you have massive chance of success. And I'm not lying when I say that. I know they use good marketing, but what they're also doing is they're driving these negative belief patterns about the body and this idea that the body is fragile. And as a result, people are getting more pain because, as you'll come to learn, pain has more to do with your nervous system and your nervous system's reaction. And that's why I created the course, the Spine Initiative, because the Spine Initiative teaches you about this sensitivity. It teaches you about pain. It teaches you why you get it at different times. It teaches you why it flares up on a Wednesday or a Friday, or why at the end of every month it kicks up, or why January it kicks up. It'll teach you about that, and then it will tell you how to fix it. And it'll tell you how to take down the sensitivity and to fix the burn spot on the nervous system. That's why I created it. But let me carry on. The last one on this list of don't do's, and this is more so if you have done this multiple times before, is where you're looking at this cat cows, you're looking at bird dogs, you're looking at dead bugs. The McGill Big Three, whatever he calls them. Now, they are excellent for treating acute issues of back pain, where you have an injury and you want to work the muscles and you want to fix it, because they are really, really good at activating those muscles. But if you're dealing with a chronic issue and you just continue to fall back on the same 3 to 4 exercises every time, but you want to be an active person, they're not really exercises made for active people. They're made for someone who has an acute injury within the first couple of weeks to help them get back moving, because they work the muscles. The same as if you injured your hamstring, you would start doing RDLs, or if you injured your ankle, you would start standing on one leg and doing hops and building the strength there. They're very good at the start, but then as you progress through it, especially when you look at like the levels that a lot of people here want to be working at or exercising at, or if you want to be going to the gym, or if you want to be running, or if you want to be out walking and hiking with your family, all of these things require more. And these bird dogs and cat cows and all that are good, but they don't provide that higher level. Like, you need to look at building a higher tolerance to exercise and not just focusing on that specifically. They're base level exercises. They're provided by every physio, but they don't get you to where you want to be. And I've had so many clients who've gone through the same rigmarole over and over again, given the same 3 exercises, but now it's not working for them anymore. So if they work for you to start, perfect, but you need to change based on your lifestyle and based on the way that you live. And a simple one, Brian, guy came to me with back pain. He was an athlete. He was playing GAA senior level. He was 25, 26, and he had been given these exercises for a back issue that he had been dealing with. Can you imagine? The guy was able to lift 120 kilo in the gym. How would these exercises help him in that case? So it doesn't line up to where people want to be. The same thing goes for Susan, a runner who came to me. She was given these same exercises over and over again for every time she got back pain, but she was covering 10K, 15K. She had the strength. She didn't need these same exercises. But as a result of just being given the same ones over and over again, she felt that it was the only way to fix it, and it created certain patterns, certain belief patterns that we had to break. If we can break them early, all the better. Now, to go back to it, the reason that I created the Spine Initiative program is to help people to learn about their body and to understand what sensitivity is, and as a result, get them back to exercise because they no longer fear pain and they have all the tools to fix it. Now, the program itself brings anyone who is dealing with back pain at the moment from absolutely no exercise to running a 5k within 10 weeks. Now, if that seems to you like an impossible feat, I really want you to download the free guide that I have, and it'll explain exactly what sensitivity is to set you on the right path. And hopefully this podcast is teaching you the things that you need to do and the things you need to stop doing, because too many people get caught in the same cycles over and over again and are given the same solutions, and it's not working for them. So this was created so that you have a better solution, and so you can get back to exercise and live the healthier lifestyle that you want to live. Number one thing to do: when you get back pain, you need to stop looking for short-term solutions. Although the pain can get very bad, if you start leaning towards short-term solutions, it's like putting a bandage on the issue. It's not going to actually fix it. It just masks it. And what will happen is you continue to use these short-term solutions, as I've talked about in the past, until they become your only solution, until the pain gets so high that you say nothing has worked, because this is such a common narrative. You'll say nothing has worked for me, but you've only ever tried chiropractic adjustments, you've only ever tried massage, you've only ever tried painkillers, you've only ever tried different ergonomic things. You haven't taken care of the holistic approach, you haven't taken care of the foundation level stuff, and to actually understand the issue itself. And you'll say nothing works, I'll need to go for surgery. And that is not what we want. If we can avoid surgery at all costs, all the better. That's what we want. Using the short-term solutions is like turning the silencer on a smoke alarm. It just gets rid of the warnings, but the issue is still there. The next one is avoid resting completely. So as we said before, rest is rust. What we want to do is continue exercising at a level that we're able to, while we wait for this flare-up to kind of calm down, and as we take care of all the other factors contributing to the flare-up. If you continue to rest, you're just going to get more deconditioned every time, and it's never really going to fix the issue at hand. So we need to take care of that. Remember that motion is lotion, and that the more you move, the more you vary your movement, the lower your pain will be, because it'll cause your nervous system to calm down. It won't need to give you loads of pain, and at the same time it's going to bring more circulation to the area so that you can improve the healing side of things. Also, if you continue exercising at your own level, it reinforces the fact that you're in control and that you have control over the issue, and it will rebuild your confidence and the strength in the area. So we're taking care of it from the physical aspect, but also the psychological aspect, because we become more confident with the pain. And doing nothing often just amplifies the issue itself. Like we spoke about earlier, Breathe, when she was playing soccer, that she was out for 2 years because she was resting so much every time it happened. But instead, using the Spine Initiative, what we did is we got her into the gym, we worked on the exercises. When the flare-ups happened, we pulled back a slight bit, but we just modified the load. That's all we did. We just modified the load, making sure that she was still able to get in there on a day-to-day. And there was a few flare-ups along the way. No question there was a few flare-ups. But we didn't let the pain control her. We had her in complete control of the pain. And as a result, she was able to get more confident and more confident and more confident until she was able to get back to exercising without any flare-ups at all, because she had built up the tolerance side of things and she'd taken care of the confidence side of things. The confidence side of things is more the nervous system and its reaction. The tolerance side of things is more the physical capabilities. The other thing is that she had all the tactics and strategies, so when she got back to exercise, she was able to know when her body needed to rest, to take a couple of days off, because we obviously need to rest, there's no question. It's the extended rest that's the problem. She knew when she was going to rest, and she also had the confidence that if something was going to kick up, that she knew what to do to calm the pain down. And that all came from that program. The next thing that you need to start doing is you need to understand what pain sensitivity is, and you need to understand what your triggers are. The reason being is that if you can get an understanding of why the nervous system gets into this hyperactive state and why it happens specifically for you, and the triggers that set this thing off for you, you can fix this issue long term. It's so important, but it's never taught to anybody. You can have a load of pain without having any injury at all. And it's related to the nervous system's pain sensitivity, how it ramps pain up, and at areas that you've injured before, they start to kick off. It's like, the way I describe it is like a burn spot on the nervous system. Now, when this happens, the nervous system, as it becomes more and more sensitive to pain, because you recognize the pain with every movement and you're becoming more deconditioned, you're sleep deprived, you're feeling tired, you're feeling like everything is going against you, you may be stressed out, this may be going on for a couple of weeks at a time. Now your nervous system is in this really hypersensitive state that any change in stimulus at all causes a lot of pain. And if you don't take down the sensitivity, everything's going to hurt. But at the same time, you're going to just get recurring flare-ups without ever understanding what the problem is. When Pippa came to learn about what sensitivity was for her, she was able to work on taking it down. She was working in a high-stress environment, which was causing her to be on edge all the time because she had timelines, she had to get projects done, she had lots of work to get done. But once she understood what sensitivity was, and once she understood that you could actually have pain without injury, she was able to lean into it a small bit more. She was able to fix it. She was able to work on the principles that were taking down sensitivity. She had tactics and strategies that were specific to her because she knew her own triggers that were able to fix it. And this is all included in the Spine Initiative. The reason I put this together is so the first half of it is understanding it while you're fixing it at the same time. And it is actually really interesting to learn about the mind-body connection and how there's certain habits that you have that you may have never realized that are causing the pain to kick up. And that's why a holistic approach is necessary. You need to take a holistic approach. You hear it thrown around a lot. What does that mean? It means that if you go to the physio and the physio gives you exercises, that's a physical approach. It's a biomechanical approach. A holistic approach is taking the biological, the psychological, and the social. The social is your environment, the people around you, taking all that into account to understand what's going on. The next one then is working on fixing the burn spot specifically. 95% of all back pain has no specific physical cause. Instead, what happens is because you've had repeated issues in the same area, our nervous system gets very, very good at recognizing any change in stimulus in that area. So as a result, we get a lot of pain with any change. And that's what when I talk about the idea of deconditioning and building a tolerance, that a lot of the time is what it has to do with. That's why I use the word a burn spot that we need to fix. If we take the idea of a burn spot on a nervous system and we say, like, when you have a burn spot on your arm, if you touch anywhere around the burn spot, there's no issue. But if you touch off the burn spot, it gets really sore. Then as soon as you let go, it kind of calms down. So we need to work on fixing that burn spot on our nervous system. And if we can fix the burn spot, that's how you can make this long-term improvement. And that's what the focus is. That's why you need to take a holistic approach to it, because that's how you fix this problem. The burn spot isn't created just by the issues. It's created by the issues and our reaction to the issues, as well as our beliefs and our habits and our behaviors around it as well. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to understanding it, but it's a really enjoyable process to understand. When John jumped on board, what he found is that there was certain days of the week that he was getting a lot more pain, and around certain events he was getting more pain. So he wanted to build up a normal running routine, but he was finding that every couple of weeks it was kicking up. He was getting back flare-ups and he was getting a lot of pain, and it felt like he couldn't do anything to get it right. But what we did is we went in to look at, first off, we learned about the burn spot. He went in, he dove deep into the understanding of it to figure out what was causing his burn spot to kick off. And once he got an understanding of that, we started to fix the triggers around it. So he was able to work on everything around it to help it heal. And as a result, he was able to build up a consistent running routine. Now, when the flare-ups happened, he didn't react and say, oh, everything's gone. What he did is he started to take back the control over the issue and calm it down. So his reactions were really, really important at this stage. Now, once he did that repeatedly, he wasn't having any issues anymore. And that's why he was able to say to me, it's been 2 years since I've had a back flare-up, because of the fact that he took the time to understand what was going on, and then he worked on all the factors that were contributing to it. He worked on fixing them one by one. And that's how he fixed the issue. And in the Spine Initiative, I give you a framework about how you can work through each of these factors so that you can do it yourself at home. The next one is you need to break the beliefs and the fears and the habits that are contributing to this repeating. And you need to rebuild the confidence in it as well. There's certain beliefs and fears that are holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve. When it comes to back pain, it's no different. Fear of making it worse is going to limit your ability to make it better. We create these fear avoidance behaviors unbeknownst to ourselves because we have certain reactions to the issue when it kicks up. And then as a result, they just become a natural fallback for us. Now, the fears themselves creep in. They really do seep in. You don't actually see them happening. And then they start to really take control of your life. We begin to lose confidence in ourselves and our body, and we start to look for short-term solutions to fix our issues. At the same time, when we start to make an improvement, we still have these beliefs in the background that our back is broken and that we're going to have back pain for the rest of our life. So even though we make this huge improvement, one little thing that's going to set it off and set that burn spot off causes us to fall back into the same habits and the same patterns again, which set the issue off. And if we don't break that belief, if we don't break that pattern, we're going to find ourselves back in a position that we need to start working from the ground up. When oftentimes it's you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's how you fix this issue. When Mary jumped on the Spine Initiative program, she really feared that it was going to get worse over time and she wasn't going to be able to play with her kids. And this is actually justified fear because it stemmed from her family background, where her father had gone through serious issues that were repeating and was affecting his ability to work as he got older. So you could see how the beliefs were ingrained. Now, her pain continually got worse to the point that she wasn't able to exercise with her kids and she wasn't able to get out and go for her walks. She then had a few bad experiences trying out chiropractors, trying out massage therapists, and going to different physios who were giving her different diagnoses for the issue that she was dealing with. She had a really, really strong belief that she was on a downward spiral and that it wasn't going to correct itself. Only after she got her first kilometre back in through the Spine Initiative course was she able to start getting the confidence back in her body, that she understood that it wasn't that she was injuring herself every time she got pain, that it was actually her body's reaction. And once she got an understanding of that and she was able to cover that 1K, she breezed through the 2K, the 3K and the 4K very easily. She had little mini flare-ups, but she understood that there was other factors contributing to them. But she had to come to learn more about herself to actually understand that. Since that, she's run a 5K and she's been back training consistently. So you need to have a clear plan with objectives and goals and milestones along the way. If you know what your milestones are, what you need to get to, that means if you have a flare-up, when you take off that box, you know that you're not back at square one. You just need to wait for this to calm down. You take care of the factors and then you go for the next milestone. But if you don't have those milestones, the second something kicks off, you just go back to zero because you feel like you're back and you've nothing achieved. You also need to understand the habits that are going to help you consistently stay on the right path, as well as the beliefs that are going to help you fall off. So if you can come to understand those, that means that the process gets a lot easier. These habits and milestones are going to help you to measure your progress as you go through the program. And it's really, really nice to have them because you can see that you've made progress. It keeps you accountable and it keeps you motivated and disciplined. The objective or goal could be run a 5K. It could be climb a mountain. It could be go to the gym 3 times a week. It doesn't make a difference what it is. As long as you have something that's there that can really show that you can make progress, that's how you get over these issues. Like, as I said, in the Spine Initiative, it goes from 0 to a 5K, but you could have different goals. You could want to get back and run a triathlon. You could want to climb a mountain. You might have said that you want to climb Kilimanjaro, whatever it is. But as long as you have these objectives and goals, you know what you're working towards and it makes it so much easier. And the next one, what we're looking at is you need to build strength and tolerance so the flare-ups don't happen as often. And I've talked about this earlier on with the deconditioning side of things, that if you continue to build strength, if you work on your mobility and your movement, you can fix these issues. Now, with that, it doesn't mean that you have to do loads and loads. It could be that you use the running as your strength building, but you have little supplementary exercises alongside it. That's okay. It could be that you use, as I mentioned earlier on, the bird dog or the dead bug at the start to get you back, and then you progress into more difficult exercises after that. But you do need to build strength and tolerance so your body regains the confidence. Your nervous system doesn't have to give you as much pain because it doesn't need to protect the area. Because when we fall back on it, pain is a protective mechanism, and we need to understand that. So if you build strength and tolerance, you don't get as much pain. And it reduces the likelihoods of flare-ups in future. The Spine Initiative, what I've done in that is we have 20-minute sessions that you do 3 times a week. You can do them before your runs if you want to. And they get shorter over time as you get to know the exercises. The exercises also progress each week because doing the same ones, it's not going to help you long term. You need to change it up, make sure you're hitting it from different angles. Talking about breathe, we use strength and mobility to build up her tolerance, and we use running as well to build up her tolerance to exercise so she could go back to playing soccer. And how we did that is we just scheduled in 20 minutes a week, or 20 minutes 3 times a week, that she had took the time out to work on these issues. She built it up, she got reconditioned, she was able to, at the start, last in a 20-minute training, we told her step out, then a 30-minute training, told her step out, and we built it up gradually over time. And that's through building strength and tolerance. And it's nice to have a graded program to get you there. The other one is really simple. The next one, it's building good habits. Having habits that will help you stay on track long term. This is what you need to do. When back pain kicks up, it often comes alongside poor sleep, poor hydration, poor diet, high stress. And if you have bad habits around these, that you just let that kind of go away by itself and you start to sleep only 5-6 hours a night, you drop your hydration, your diet goes really bad, you don't have any stress management techniques, or maybe your only stress management technique is exercise, which I see often with people. It's their only one, and then they get injured and they can't exercise. That's a really common one that happens to people. But if these are your only outlets, or if you don't have any outlets and your habits are poor, the back pain is going to stick around a lot longer because they are the foundation of your health. And if we can build good, consistent habits, which I will teach you how to do that, if you can build them, then you can focus on keeping a good foundation while you build everything else around it. And the last couple then is modifying your language. This is probably something that you have never talked about with a physio or a doctor or anything before, because it's often overlooked the effect that it can have on us. But the language, the internal and external dialogue that we have, dictates our beliefs and dictates our subconscious. And as a result, anything that's going to affect your subconscious and conscious mind affects your nervous system and affects how your nervous system reacts to things. So if you start saying, oof, I have a bad back, oof, I need to be careful of that. If you start using bad language, I have a bad side, I have a negative language towards your body, it will pick up on that. And if you don't modify that language, if you don't fix that language, and you need to recognize it. If you don't recognize it, or if you're not aware of it, it's very hard to fix it. But once you become aware of it, then you can start fixing it, and you can start using different techniques to make sure that you stick on the path of that. It's a funny one, but it actually has a huge effect on us, because you can do all the work in the world, but if you still have this belief, ingrained belief, and you use this language to describe a body that's broken, the body will never really relax. It's always going to be protective over that area. With Susan, a really interesting one is she always described it as a bad side, her bad back. She always described the same thing over and over again because it was a bad thing. Now, it was until we broke that cycle, until we got her to stop using that language out loud first, and then she could stop using it internally, that she was actually able to start getting over the issues. If she continued using that, she would find that when it flared up, she would start falling back on the language, and as a result then she would get the flare-ups, and they would last way longer, and she would be back 3-4 months when really she doesn't need to be. And the last one is testing the limits. You have to understand that you will have back pain and you will have flare-ups along the path to recovery, because it's a journey. It's about trial and error. It's about understanding yourself and understanding your body. And if you can come to understand it, and you can come to fixing the little issues along the way, that's how you can fix this problem long term. You have to test the limits, and you have to understand that pain, you don't always have to fear pain. Sometimes you can use pain as your ally. You can use pain to dictate what you do. You can use pain to help push you through. And when you test the body, you need to expect it to kick back. When you put it in a position that hasn't been in before, it's going to kick back, because that's just what it does. That's how it stops you from going too far. But when the system is really hypersensitive, that just happens all of the time. So we need to fix that. And that's how we can fix that. It's pretty simple. It's simple, but it takes time. One of the last things is that when you get pain, it's the best time to fix it, because that's when you can understand it more. And once you understand the pain, and I've been talking about understanding the pain so much, once you understand the pain, you have complete control over the pain. And when you regain that control, now you have a control over your body. And now you have control over what you do. You have control over your activities, your habits, your behaviors. And as a result, you have control over your life again, because you can now decide on what you want to do without having to think about, do I need to watch my back? Do I need to be careful of my back? Do I need to make sure that there's a place that I can sit down in case my back kicks up? That language is gone now, because you can start, you've tested the limits, you know what you can do, you've rebuilt your confidence in your back. And as a result, you're not getting flare-ups. And that's the key to it. This is the reason that I put this podcast together, is to teach you that there's certain reactions in the don'ts side of things that people consistently do that cause the issue to become more ingrained. And on the do side of things, there's a lot of things you can do to fix it. And I bet you some of those do's you probably never even considered before. It's important to take a holistic approach to this. If you don't take a holistic approach to this, you're going to find yourself going around in circles over and over again. And it's going to become an issue. If you do start taking a holistic approach to it, you set the time aside. It doesn't mean that you need to take hours and hours and hours out of your day to fix it. It just means making the consistently right decisions over a nice period of time. And it means consistently building back up the tolerance, breaking the beliefs, and reimagining what you can do with your life and what you can do with your body. That's going to make the biggest change. But it starts today. If you're going to do it, you need to start really focusing on what you can do to fix it. And as I said, that's why I put together the Spine Initiative program, where you start from literally zero to getting back to running a 5k. And what you want to do after that, it's completely up to you. If you want to go and start doing any exercise in the world, I don't mind, but it will teach you. And through this process of running the 5k, you will learn exactly why your body kicks up at certain times. You will learn how to fix the burn spot, how to take down pain sensitivity. You'll learn what's a good pain and what's a bad pain. You learn how to lean into it a bit more. And as a result, you'll learn not to fear the pain because it can actually help you in a lot of ways. You'll progress each week with set exercises that are graded. Most of them are just mobility based. You'll also have a running program on the side of that, which will help you to kind of build it up over time. So you don't have to fear that you're doing too much too fast. You have the exercises to fall back on. And as a result, one of the things that are missed out in most programs is you'll have all the tactics, tools, and strategies in there to work on all of the beliefs, the language that you use, and anything else that's contributing to the issue or contributing to the burn spot so you can fix it. There's also a little section that if a flare-up happens, you just click into that section, how to manage a flare-up, go through boom, 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 fix that flare-up within a day or two, and get back on track as soon as possible. If that's something you're interested in, check out the Spine Initiative. It's going to be in the description of this podcast, or you can just check out spineinitiative.com. And it's available now. If anyone is interested, you can send me a message on Instagram, Mobility Tutor, and we can talk about it in more detail if you need. But the Spine Initiative is available now, and you can get started whenever you want. Looking forward to seeing you on the other side. As always, I really appreciate you watching this podcast. I hope it helped. And if you need anything at all, just send me a message on Instagram or an email at info@themobilitytutor.com. All the best, and I'll chat to you again next week. Have a good one. Okay guys, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're looking to learn more about what we do, as well as check out any of the mobility and rehab programs we have available, just head over to the description of this podcast and you will find a link to all the programs there. As always, thank you for listening, and I will chat to you all again in the next episode. Have a good one.